Saturday, October 5th, 2024, Seattle, Washington. I was 38, and my wife and I were doing the kind of anniversary weekend that felt responsible instead of dramatic. No fancy itinerary, no packed schedule, just a nicer-than-usual Airbnb downtown, Harborview loft near Battery St., so we could eat well, sleep in, and pretend we weren't always measuring time in the work problems. By the time we got back from a late dinner, Seattle had that damp, quiet shine it gets after midnight. The street below the loft reflected the traffic lights like smeared paint. Inside, the place was spotless in that rental way. Staged, pillows, a candle we wouldn't light, a welcome card on the counter with a QR code and too many instructions. The building itself felt secure. You needed an elevator fob just to get the car up to the right floor. The elevator doors closed with a soft sigh, and when we stepped out, the hallway carpet had that weird, stale smell, damp wool, like it had absorbed a decade of raincoats. Somewhere down the corridor, an ice machine hummed, steady and mechanical, like white noise with a heartbeat. The loft had a balcony, and I tried the door once out of curiosity. It stuck and needed a shoulder to push it open, like the frame had shifted. Typical older building stuff. I made a mental note and left it closed. At the front door, the lock was a keyless deadbolt. When you tapped the code, it made a soft motor whir and a confident click, like the building was proud of itself. We locked up, checked the windows, and let the night settle. We weren't loud. We weren't partying. We were tired. We put on the TV low and ate the last of a dessert we'd brought back in a little box. The blinds didn't fully seal, so streetlight glow sliced through in narrow stripes, cutting the living room into pale bars of light and shadow. It was actually kind of nice. Calm, quiet, private. That's what I thought we'd paid for. Then my phone buzzed with a message from the host. The message was simple. Host. Building is strict. Keep it quiet. I looked at my wife like she'd somehow turned the volume up without me noticing. But she was whispering about whether we should wake up early for coffee or sleep in and skip it. The TV was barely audible. We weren't even using the dishwasher. My brain offered rational explanations immediately, because that's what you do when you don't want to feel uneasy. Maybe the host sent that to every guest automatically around midnight. Maybe someone in another unit complained, and the host was shotgun texting everyone to cover themselves. Maybe building management really was strict, and the host had been burned before. Still, it felt off. Like a warning that didn't match reality. A few minutes later, there was a knock. Not aggressive, not casual. A firm, measured knock that sounded like it belonged to someone who expected compliance. I went to the peephole. The hallway light was dim. I couldn't see a uniform. I couldn't even see a clear face. Just the vague shape of a person standing slightly to the side, like they knew how peepholes worked. A voice came through the door, calm, certain. Building security, noise complaint. Wrong detail number 1. The host had just texted us, even though we were whispering. I didn't open the door. I asked through the wood, "Can I see your badge?" The voice didn't answer the question. It said our exact unit number, then said my last name. Wrong detail number 2. I had not shared my last name with anyone except the platform. Not the host directly, not in any message. And hearing it spoken through a closed door at 1 a.m. made the back of my neck go tight. Then the deadbolt made a sound. A soft motor whir, like someone had entered a code and the lock had started to cycle. Then it stopped halfway, as if the system changed its mind. Wrong detail number 3. I backed away from the door slowly, like a movement could make the situation worse. My wife's eyes were wide now. "They're not supposed to be able to do that," she whispered. And that's when I stopped trying to convince myself this was normal. We turned off the TV, not because we were worried about the noise complaint, but because silence let us hear everything. The hallway, the carpet smell, damp wool, seemed stronger near the door, like the building itself was breathing through it. The ice machine down the corridor hummed on, then off, then on again. A steady, mechanical rhythm that suddenly felt like a timer. Another knock came, this time from the stairwell side of the hallway, not directly in front of our door. Then footsteps shifted, repositioned. It sounded like two people adjusting their spots, one staying near our door, the other moving to where the stairwell would give them a different angle. That was the moment I understood the core of it. This wasn't security. It was a setup. A staged reason to get us to open the door while someone tested what they could do with the lock. My wife grabbed her phone and pulled up the peephole camera view, one of those little portable hallway viewers she'd started carrying after too many true crime podcasts. The screen showed the hallway outside our door. Empty. No one standing there. No one leaning against the wall. Just carpet, a strip of baseboard, and the dim light at the end of the corridor. For half a second I felt relief. Then a shadow slid across the frame. Quick, deliberate, like someone had been standing just out of view and stepped closer to test the camera angle. My stomach dropped. The deadbolt whirred again. A controlled sound, not frantic, like someone was trying different inputs. It started, paused, stopped. I moved my wife away from the entry and into the bedroom. The balcony door was there, but it stuck and needed force to open. The last thing I wanted was us wrestling with it while someone got the main door open. I kept my voice low. Short sentences. "Don't open anything. Stay away from the windows. Call 911 if I tell you." Another sound, the elevator. A soft ding from somewhere down the hall, then another ding. Back to back, like someone had arrived on our floor twice in a row. I checked my phone clock because I needed something objective to hold on to. 1:07 a.m. The elevator doors never opened, at least not loudly enough to hear. No rolling suitcase, no footsteps approaching. Just the dings. Like the building was announcing arrivals that weren't real. My phone buzzed again. "Host, just open the door so security can confirm you're the guest." That message hit harder than the knocks. Because it wasn't concern, it was instruction, and it matched the lock behavior too neatly. Like the host, or someone using the host's account, wanted us to do the one thing we refused to do. Hide plus verify. That became the plan. No hero moves. I looked for something official inside the unit. Near the entry, on the wall, there was a small plaque with building contact info. Front desk, emergency line, after-hours number. I snapped a photo and dialed the lobby number, keeping my voice controlled. A real person answered. Groggy but human. I gave the unit number. I told them someone claimed to be security and was knocking. I asked one question. "Did you dispatch anyone to our floor?" There was a pause, keys clicking, the sound of someone actually checking. "No," the desk said. "We don't send security for noise complaints, not like that. If you're uncomfortable, don't open the door. Call police." As if on cue, the handle on our door jiggled once, harder than before. Not a test, a try. My wife was already dialing 911. I stood a few feet back from the door, phone in one hand, keys in the other, listening to the lock like it was a living thing. The deadbolt started to cycle again. This time, it didn't stop politely. It tried to engage. The lock whirred louder than it had before. a steady motor push, like it was being driven by someone who knew the exact timing. The bolt clicked, caught, clicked again. The handle jerked hard, once, twice, testing if the door would give. I didn't move toward it. I didn't shout through it. I didn't challenge anyone. I backed into the bedroom with my wife and shut the door behind us, leaving the main entry out of sight like that would shrink the danger. The hallway outside went quiet. Then another knock, soft, almost polite, like a reset. A voice again, lower this time, closer to the wood. Open up. The lock made one more attempt. A sharp whir. Stop, like the system was deciding whether it still had permission. And then, faint at first, sirens. Not right outside, not immediate rescue, but close enough that the sound echoed off the wet streets and found its way up through the building. The handle stopped moving the second the sirens became obvious. Footsteps retreated. Fast, controlled, gone. Police arrived and cleared the hallway. They knocked, announced themselves, and only then did we open the door. Chain on, bodies back, eyes locked on the corridor. It was empty, no building security, no helpful staff member, no neighbor. Just damp-smelling carpet and the ice machine humming like nothing had happened. The front desk confirmed it again, on record this time. No security was dispatched, no calls logged, no complaint filed, nothing official. We didn't sleep much after that. We left the TV off. We kept the bedroom door cracked so we could see the entry. Every little building sound felt personal. In the morning, the host refunded one night without us asking. Then came another message. Can you cancel for a family emergency? It'll be easier so this doesn't stay on the listing. Not, are you okay? Not, what happened? Just damage control? And that was the part that made my skin crawl all over again. How quickly they tried to erase it. Before we get into the next story, if you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next upload. And if you enjoyed these stories, please do like, comment, and share. Tuesday, March 12th, 2024, 10:58 p.m. I was 26, a travel nurse, and I'd booked Saguaro Vista Casita last minute because my contract started in the morning, and the hospital didn't care where I slept, as long as I showed up. 3 nights in Tucson, near E Speedway Boulevard. Close enough that I could get to work without learning the whole city. The neighborhood was quiet in a dry, late-night way. Porch lights glowing over gravel yards, a few palm shadows leaning across the street. Even the air felt thin and clean, like the desert didn't hold on to sound. The casita door had a keypad. I punched in the code the host sent, and the lock gave a crisp click. Immediately, a bright little welcome chime played from somewhere inside. Cheerful in a way that didn't match how tired I was. The place looked staged but clean. Neutral couch, folded throw blanket. A framed cactus print that felt like it came from a furniture catalog. On the counter was a stack of printed house rules, thicker than I expected. Wi-Fi info, thermostat, guidelines, quiet hours, checkout steps, what not to touch. It read like a contract. The mini-split AC mounted high on the wall ticked on, then off, then on again, like it couldn't find a comfortable setting. The air had that dry, conditioned feel that made my skin tighten after a long shift. I rolled my suitcase into the bedroom and listened. Through the thin wall, I could hear a neighbor's TV, muffled voices and laughter behind plaster, comforting in a normal way. It made the casita feel less isolated. In the bathroom, the smell hit me right away. Cheap lemon cleaner, strong enough to sting the back of my throat. Not fresh, chemical, like someone had cleaned fast and hard right before I arrived. Outside, through the front window, a ring-style doorbell sat by the entry. Its tiny light blinked occasionally, subtle but noticeable when everything else was still. I told myself, shower, set an alarm, sleep. I had an early start, and I didn't have space in my brain for anything except rest. That was the plan. Quiet rental, short contract, nothing dramatic. My phone buzzed before I even finished unpacking. "Host, hope you got in okay." It came seconds after I'd stepped inside. I stared at it, thumb hovering over the screen, feeling stupid for even reacting. It was friendly, normal, but the timing was too perfect, like a camera notification had fired the moment the door closed behind me. I gave it rational explanations because I needed it to be rational. Maybe the smart lock sent an automatic "guest arrived" alert. Maybe the host had scheduled a message to go out right after check-in time. Maybe they were just being attentive to protect their rating. I replied, "Yep, I'm in, thanks." I showered, trying to wash off the day. When I stepped out, towel around me, the bathroom was quiet except for the drip of water off the curtain. Then the vent fan turned on by itself. A clean click, then a steady whir, like it had decided I needed ventilation the second I finished. The switch was still in the off position. Wrong detail number 1. I told myself it was humidity sensing. Some fans did that, not suspicious, just newer hardware. I went into the bedroom and checked the thermostat on the wall out of habit. It read 72. Reasonable. I climbed into bed and put on TV for background noise, one of those mindless shows I didn't have to follow. Through the wall, the neighbor's TV was still audible too, like a second distant soundtrack. Around midnight, as I was drifting, the bedroom smart speaker, one of those little cylinder ones, suddenly blasted a notification tone and the volume jumped. I saw the number flash on the top display, 60%. It wasn't a gentle mistake, it was loud, wrong detail number 2. I sat up, heart pounding, and lowered it immediately. My brain tried to cover it again. Software update. A routine test. Maybe the previous guest had set an alarm and it glitched. Then I noticed the room felt colder. Not AC running, colder. The mini-split clicked, then paused, clicked again. I got up and checked the thermostat. It had changed from 72 to 66. Wrong detail number 3. I hadn't touched it. I hadn't opened an app. I hadn't even walked past it. I stood there in the dark, listening to the neighbor's TV through the wall, and tried to tell myself this was still normal. But my body didn't believe me. I changed the thermostat back to 72 and watched it for a full minute like that would force reality to behave. It held. The mini-split ticked, then settled into a low hum. I got back into bed, TV low, speaker volume low, lights off. My phone buzzed again. Host. How's the place? You getting settled? Normal question, normal words. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at it, feeling that small, creeping sense of being handled. Like the messages were timed to keep me engaged, keep me calm, keep me from thinking too hard. I tried to sleep anyway. 10 minutes later, another message came in. Host. Also, LOL, is that Kitchen Nightmares? I loved that one. I froze. I was watching Kitchen Nightmares. Low volume, no open curtains. Nobody outside could see my screen unless they were pressed to the window. And the living room window faced the street with no easy hiding spot. My hands went cold around the phone. That was the moment the pattern became plain. Things in the house weren't just acting up, they were responding to me, in real time. I got up and walked the casita slowly, checking what I'd ignored earlier. The printed house rules were still on the counter. One page talked about security devices disclosed on the listing, and it mentioned a doorbell camera. Fine. Doorbell cameras were everywhere. But then I noticed something I hadn't paid attention to, the Wi-Fi list on my phone. There were 2 networks. One was the one listed on the paper, a Saguaro Vista guest. The other was almost the same, Saguaro Vista 2G. The signal bars for the second one were stronger in the bedroom, much stronger, like the router was closer to my nightstand than to the living room. I walked back and forth, testing it like an idiot, because I didn't want to admit what I was thinking. Then, from inside the house, I saw the doorbell unit's status light change. The tiny ring around the camera, the light that normally only activated when someone was at the door, clicked on. While I was standing in the bedroom, not outside, not near the entry, inside. I stared at it through the window, feeling my pulse in my throat. That light wasn't a decoration. It was a status indicator. Someone was accessing it. Viewing, recording. I didn't panic run yet. I did the thing nurses do when the room goes sideways. I made it procedural. Keys, wallet, phone, shoes on. I opened my bag and started packing only what mattered. Medication, badge, charger, a change of clothes. My movements got sharp, efficient. I kept glancing at the thermostat like it might change again just to prove a point. As I lifted my charger from the nightstand, something behind it caught my eye. Something I wouldn't have noticed if I wasn't scanning for threats. A USB power adapter tucked behind the nightstand, angled into the wall outlet. Not the cheap white kind. This one was black, glossy, and positioned so the face pointed outward into the room. I pulled it out and turned it in my hand. There was a pinhole lens in the plastic. My mouth went dry. My ears started ringing. I stared at it until my brain caught up and said the words I didn't want to say. Camera. Not maybe, not could be. Camera. I didn't look for more. I didn't play detective. I grabbed my bag, the adapter in my fist like evidence, and walked fast to the front door. I didn't stop to lock it. I just wanted distance and air and control. Outside, the night felt different. Cooler, wider, real. I crossed the gravel fast, got into my car, and locked the doors with a double click that sounded like relief. I started dialing platform support with shaking hands. Then I stopped because headlights moved at the end of the street. A car rolled past slowly. No headlights. Just a dark shape gliding along the curb like it didn't want attention. It passed the casita, then stopped a few houses down, still dark, engine idling low. My stomach dropped. My phone buzzed again. Host message. Host. Please don't make this a big thing. That sentence landed like a hand on my shoulder. Not a question, not confusion, not, is everything okay? It was control, it was pressure. It was someone trying to keep me quiet. I didn't respond. I called the police instead, then called the platform, and I kept my eyes on that dark car the whole time. It didn't chase me, it didn't flash lights. It just sat there like it had already gotten what it wanted and was waiting to see what I'd do next. When I finally pulled away, I didn't drive straight to the hotel. I looped twice. I watched my mirrors. I stayed on lit roads. An officer met me in a well-lit lot while I explained it in the plainest words I could manage. Smart home changes. 2 specific messages. A doorbell status light turning on while I was inside, and a hidden camera adapter behind the nightstand. They took a report. They asked if I'd touched anything else. I handed over the adapter in a plastic bag like it was contaminated. They said they'd note it, which is what people say when the system can't promise you anything. I checked into a hotel off the freeway and slept with the TV on, and a chair pushed against the door, not because it would stop anyone, but because I needed the sound. Within 48 hours, the listing was gone. deleted, unavailable, like it had never existed. A week later, the platform emailed me. Host provided evidence you violated house rules. No details. No warning from that night. No rule violation notice while I was there. Just a sentence that implied they'd been watching the whole time. And somehow, that part stuck the worst. Monday, January 20th, 2025, 2:32 a.m. Portland, Oregon. I was 30, a freelance videographer, and I was in Portland for one job, a wedding shoot that started early the next morning. I'd flown in with 2 camera bodies, lenses wrapped in socks, batteries in every pocket of my backpack, and the kind of exhaustion that makes you accept good enough decisions just so you can sleep. The Airbnb was listed as a private basement suite called Maple Ridge Guest Suite near NE 55th St. It was last minute. It was affordable. And the host's messages were weirdly strict in a way I tried not to read into. Self-check-in only. Do not use the upstairs door. Message if you need anything. The entry was through a side gate and down a short stairwell into a basement door. When I typed the code, the keypad chirped, and the interior smart lock made that motorized latch sound. An electric whir and a click that felt more final than a normal deadbolt. Inside, it smelled like a house that had been recently cleaned but never fully aired out. The strongest scent came from the laundry area, detergent and warm lint, like someone had just run a load and folded it in a hurry. A dehumidifier sat in the corner, running non-stop, making a steady water gurgle as it cycled into its tank. The suite was small and tidy. 1 bed, a little kitchenette, a cheap lamp with a warm bulb. In the hallway, a motion nightlight blinked on in short bursts whenever I walked past it, then snapped off again like it was trying to save power. I noticed the basement windows right away because I always did. 2 narrow window wells near the ceiling, both covered by metal grates that looked bolted down. Beyond them, I could see wet dirt and the faint glow of a porch light from somewhere above. The house itself made quiet mechanical noises, normal ones. A furnace cycle whooshed once, and I felt the ductwork vibrate through the walls like a distant truck passing. I unpacked just enough to charge batteries, set my gear against the wall, and take a quick shower. All I wanted was 6 hours of sleep, and I would have gotten it if the host hadn't insisted on one rule that suddenly felt less like house etiquette and more like a boundary. Don't use the upstairs door. I woke up the way you wake up in unfamiliar places, without a reason, just the sense that something changed. At first, I thought it was the dehumidifier shifting into a louder cycle. Then, I heard it. Footsteps directly above the bedroom. Not a creak here and there. Actual pacing. Slow, deliberate steps that crossed the ceiling in a straight line, stopped, then started again. I blinked at my phone. 2:10 a.m. My first rational explanation was automatic. Old house. Pipes, the furnace kicking, floorboards settling. I'd rented enough basements to know sound traveled weirdly. The second explanation was the one I wanted to believe. A neighbor unit, a shared structure, someone in an attached space that wasn't upstairs in the way my brain pictured it. The third explanation was simple denial. I was half asleep and misreading normal noise as footsteps because I was alone. Then the interior door at the top of the basement stairs made a sound. A soft electric latch cycle. The smart lock motor whirring. It locked. A beat later, it whirred again. Unlocked. Like someone was testing it. Like someone wanted to know exactly how loud it was from down here. Wrong detail number 1. I sat up, listening hard. The motion nightlight in the hallway snapped on for a second, then off, even though I hadn't moved. Wrong detail number 2. Then a voice came from upstairs, muffled through the floor, like someone speaking near the stairwell. It said my first name. Not hello. Not is anyone down there? Just my name, spoken like they were checking that I was awake. Wrong detail number 3. I didn't answer. I didn't move. My mind raced through the only ways it made sense. The host had my name from the booking. Maybe they weren't out of town. Maybe they came home unexpectedly and forgot they had a guest. Maybe they were drunk and confused. But the combination of footsteps, the lock cycling, and my name, it didn't feel like confusion. It felt like confirmation. I grabbed my phone and tried to message the host. The message sat on sending. Wi-Fi showed 1 bar, then nothing. My cellular signal flickered between weak and dead like the basement was swallowing it. And the upstairs footsteps started again, closer to where the basement stairwell would be. I got out of bed quietly and crossed the suite barefoot so my steps wouldn't announce me. The laundry smell, detergent and warm lint, was stronger near the utility area, and it bothered me now because it meant someone had been down here recently. Or someone still used the basement for the house, even if it was private. I tried my phone again. Wi-Fi dropped completely. Cellular stayed weak. I typed a text to a friend anyway. Something weird at Airbnb, call if I don't answer. It failed to send. The dehumidifier gurgled like nothing in the world mattered. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked, then another. The pacing shifted, like whoever was up there moved from the living space toward the stairwell. The smart lock on the interior door cycled again. Whir, click. Then a pause. Then whir again. I stood in the hallway, staring at that door like it was a mouth. And then the basement window well grate rattled. Not a gust of wind, not a branch tapping. A slow, deliberate metal vibration that started on one side, stopped, then started again, like hands, testing how much give it had. I stepped closer to the window well and looked up. All I could see was darkness, wet dirt, and the underside of the grate. No face, no shadow. But the sound came from right above my head. My heart started beating in a way that made everything feel too loud. That's when a new sound started, one that felt staged the second I heard it. A fast dripping, like a leak. Not from a pipe bursting or water rushing, just quick drops hitting something hard, repeated at a steady pace, and it was coming from deeper in the basement, near a utility room door I hadn't opened before. It was the kind of noise that pulls you, the kind of noise that makes you think, if I don't check it, it'll get worse. It felt like bait. The pattern was clear now, and I hated how clean it was. Keep me isolated, keep my phone useless, keep the exit uncertain, then give me a problem to chase into the one part of the basement I hadn't looked at yet. I didn't want to go near that utility room. But the only safe move was leaving, and I didn't know if the upstairs door would even open from my side. The host had said not to use it. The lock kept cycling. That meant they could control it. I went to the interior stair door anyway and tested the handle without pulling hard. Locked. I heard the motor click like it had just engaged. So the only exit I could confirm was the window wells, and those were barred. I grabbed the heaviest thing I could get my hands on, a metal chair from the little dining nook. It scraped softly across the floor as I lifted it, and the dehumidifier kept gurgling like it was mocking me. The dripping noise continued, faster now, coming from behind the utility room door. It sounded closer than it should have, like it was meant to. I made a decision that felt stupid and necessary. I'd open the utility room just enough to see, then get back to the suite door and make noise. Anything. Something that forced attention outside the house. I reached for the utility room handle and pulled. The door opened. The light inside was weak, just a bare bulb and shadowy pipes. And behind me, the interior suite door at the top of the stairs made that motor sound again. Whir, click, locked. At the exact same moment, the overhead light in the basement snapped off. The world went black. I stood in total darkness with a metal chair in my hands, trying not to breathe too loud. Somewhere above, I heard the interior stairs creak. Not footsteps on the main floor. Stairs. Someone was coming down. I fumbled for my phone and hit the screen. Nothing loaded, no bars, no Wi-Fi. Just the faint glow of my lock screen and my own reflection. Wide eyes, tight jaw. I hit the emergency call shortcut. It rang. Once. Twice. Then a dispatcher answered. I put it on speaker and kept my voice low but steady, because panic makes you stupid. "I'm trapped in a basement suite," I said. "The door locked behind me. Someone's inside the house." Dispatcher kept me talking on purpose. Name, address, what I could see, what I could hear. Like my voice was a beacon they could triangulate. The motion nightlight flashed on for a second, throwing a thin slice of light across the hallway. In that slice, I saw the utility room handle. It turned slowly. Not yanked, not shaken. Turned, held. Like someone was testing whether I'd run toward it. Then it stopped, and the darkness returned. I squeezed the chair tighter and aimed my body toward the window well, ready to make the loudest noise I could. I slammed the chair into the window well grate area hard enough to make the metal shriek. Not to break it cleanly, just to create sound that couldn't be ignored. I hit my car alarm with my key fob through my jacket pocket over and over, until the horn outside started screaming. The dispatcher stayed with me. "Keep making noise," she said. "Stay where you can be heard." When police arrived, their voices sounded unreal, muffled at first, then clearer as they moved around outside. They didn't come through the upstairs door. They got me out through the window well, prying and bending the grate enough to pull me up like luggage. Upstairs, they said the house was empty, but one thing was on. A space heater running near the interior door, like someone had been standing there recently, warming their hands. Later, when an officer showed me body cam footage at the curb, my stomach dropped. On the video, when they reached the interior suite door, it was unlocked. But I had watched it lock, and I had heard the motor. If you have a true story you want featured on The Wrong Silence, send it to thewrongsilence@agemail.com.